What regulatory measures ang meron ang BSP para hindi na sila malusutan? Aware po kayo dito, Mr. President? Itong nangyari na palaging nagkukulang ng cash.
Narinig ko rin yan. Narinig ko rin yan. We discussed the twin resolutions. The resolution filed by Senator Alan Peter Cayetano and the other resolution filed by three senators, De La Rosa, Padilla, and Bongo, regarding the sense of the Senate with regard to the house arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte.
The Committees on Higher Education and Local Government.
Senate Number 1403, an act providing for a national framework for students' rights and welfare, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Higher Education and Basic Education.
Senate Number 1404, an act strengthening the Commission on Human Rights as a national human rights institution, Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Justice, Civil Service, and Finance.
Senate Number 1405, an act further amending RA 7277, the Magna Carta for Persons with Disability, as amended, to provide for the lifetime validity of identification cards issued to persons with permanent disability, Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committee on Social Justice.
Senate Number 1406, an act further amending Republic Act Number 11213, the Tax Amnesty Act, as amended by RA 11569 and RA 11956, by extending the period of availment of the estate tax amnesty until June 14, 2027, and for other purposes, Senator Tulfo E.
Referred to the Committee on Ways and Means.
Senate Number 1407, an act mandating the establishment of dialysis centers in all national, regional, and provincial hospitals, providing free dialysis treatments to indigent patients, and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Health, Social Justice, and Finance.
Senate Number 1408, an act providing for an across-the-board increase in the basic monthly salary of public school teachers and appropriating funds therefore, Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Civil Service, Basic Education, and Finance.
Senate Number 1409, an act abolishing the travel tax, Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Ways and Means, Tourism, and Finance.
Senate Number 1410, an act providing subsidies for indigent public utility drivers in the payment of fees and charges for certificates and clearances required by the LTO in applying for a professional driver's license, Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Public Services and Social Justice.
Senate Number 1411, an act providing for a system of redistributing and recycling food waste to promote food security, Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Agriculture and Social Justice.
Senate Number 1412, an act establishing public basic education schools in geographically isolated and disadvantaged and conflict-affected areas, providing access roads leading to last-mile schools, appropriating funds therefore, Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Basic Education and Finance.
Senate Number 1413, an act modernizing the TESDA, amending and repealing for the purpose RA 7796, the TESDA Act of 1994, and for other purposes, Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Higher Education, Civil Service, and Finance.
Senate Number 1414, an act amending RA 8292, the Higher Education Modernization Act of 1997, to strengthen the governance of state universities and colleges by revising the composition and powers of the governing boards, clarifying the role of the Commission on Higher Education, and granting differentiated autonomy, and for other purposes, Senator Legarda.
Referred to the Committee on Higher Education.
Senate Number 1415, an act prescribing the mandatory guidelines for the establishment and operation of local universities and colleges, Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Higher Education and Local Government.
Senate Number 1416, an act establishing the University of the Philippines National Climate Resilience Institute, and for other purposes, Senator Legarda.
To the Committees on Higher Education, Environment, and Finance.
Senate Number 1417, an act establishing a National Health Service Outreach Program for senior citizens with functional disabilities, providing for the regular distribution of assistive devices, hygiene kits, and community-based health visits, and for other purposes, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Health, Social Justice, and Finance.
Senate Number 1418, an act extending the term of the Second Congressional Commission on Education, EDCOM 2, amending RA 11899, creating the Education Cabinet Cluster to support the implementation of EDCOM 2 recommendations, and for other purposes, Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committees on Higher Education, Basic Education, and Finance.
Resolutions. Proposed Senate Resolution 133, expressing the sense of the Senate, urging the Executive to manifest the Philippines' commitment to improving the human rights situation in the region, particularly in light of ongoing concerns in Myanmar, in accordance with ASEAN principles and obligations. Senator Ontiveros.
Refer to the Committee on Rules.
Proposed Senate Resolution 134, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry into the delayed remittance of GSIS loan payments and/or contributions of public school teachers and DepEd personnel, with the end view of enacting remedial measures to ensure timely remittance, accurate posting of payments, and the protection of teachers and government employees from unjust interest charges and penalties. Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Government Corporations and Basic Education.
Resolution 135, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry on the alleged failure of casinos to implement strict Know Your Client policies and to report covered and suspicious transactions to the Anti-Money Laundering Council, with the end in view of strengthening existing laws, imposing stricter compliance mechanisms on casinos, and ensuring accountability in the use of public funds. Senator Tulfo E.
To the Committees on Games and Banks.
Resolution number 136, directing the Committee on Health and Demography to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on reports of bullying, harassment, and abuse of authority in hospitals, with the end in view of ensuring safe and healthful working conditions for healthcare professionals. Senator Tulfo R.
To the Committee on Health.
Resolution number 137, directing the Senate Committee on Public Services to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the rising incidence of SIM card-related scams, including the use of fraudulent bank links that result in unauthorized deductions and account hacking, with the end in view to strengthen measures that will protect the general public. Senator Tulfo R.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services and Banks. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, we'd like to recognize Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan to deliver a manifestation.
We recognize Senator Francis Pangilinan.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Tagapangulo, sa ating mga kasamahan sa Senado. Bilang taxpayer at bilang pasweldo ng taong bayan, medyo nakakaasiwa at nakakabahala ang statement na nilabas ng Land Bank kahapon. And I quote, strongly refuting insinuations sa pag-handle nito ng government contractor accounts ng DPWH flood control projects. Ang lumalabas sa ating pagdinig, ginamit ang Land Bank, naglabas ng halos kalahating bilyong pisong halaga ng cash sa loob ng 2 araw na sa Land Bank mismo wini-withdraw ng mga kontratista. Kung tama ang naging statement ng Land Bank na wala silang ginawang mali, sumunod sila faithfully at strictly sa lahat ng existing Philippine banking laws and regulations, ang tanong, ibig sabihin ba dahil walang mali sa paglabas ng 457 million pesos cash sa 2 araw, ay mauulit ito? Pwedeng gawin ulit dahil, to quote, sumunod sila faithfully at strictly sa lahat ng existing Philippine banking laws and regulations. We beg to disagree. Dapat sana ay sinabi nila sa kanilang statement, maghahanap kami ng paraan para hindi na mangyari ulit ito. Tandaan po natin, pera ito ng gobyerno, ng taong bayan. Pera na kinubra sa kanila o inuutang sa ngalan nila. Pera na dapat napupunta sa pagkain, edukasyon, kalusugan, kabuhayan. Hinihiling ko lang sa Land Bank at sa sino mang nag-draft ng statement nila at sa lahat, sa ating lahat na pinapasweldo ng taong bayan na magkaroon ng mindset na para sa tao, para sa Pilipino. Naialay ang araw-araw na gawain ang bawat pisong pumapasok at lumalabas sa government banks sa Pilipino sa mga kababayan natin. Sa gitna ng galit ng ating mga kababayan sa nangyari sa kanilang pondo, mano ba namang magsabi, we will find ways of doing things better. We will review our protocols to be able to flag possible dubious transactions, etc. Imbis na ipagmalaki na sinunod nila ang lahat ng batas, mano ba namang magsabi, Given our expertise and 62 years of experience in handling government funds, we will help review the laws, particularly on anti-money laundering and especially if they involve government contractors. Your commitment to the highest standards, itong statement nila, to the highest standards of integrity, regulatory compliance, and public trust demands this. Otherwise, yung deklarasyon ay empty, ika nga. It is not enough to do bad. It is not enough to not do bad, rather, but we must not stand idly by while bad is happening or while bad is already being exposed to everyone. Pakiusap po ito. Please, Land Bank, let us do better for our people. Salamat, Mr. President, for this manifestation.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, our distinguished Deputy Majority Leader would like to ask just a few questions to the proponent of the manifestation.
Senator Risa Ontiveros is recognized.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Mari bang magtanong ng ilang clarificatory questions sa good gentleman?
Yes, willingly to the Senador from Panay Island and the Republic of the Philippines.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Kung talagang faithfully sinusunod ng Land Bank yung mga applicable banking laws sa isyung iniimbestiga natin sa Blue Ribbon Committee, ano sana dapat ang kanilang ginawa, Mr. President?
Well, under the AMLA law, they are mandated to report suspicious transactions, number one. I understand they probably did it, but here comes now AMLA. What did they do with the suspicious transaction report? Kung ito ay galing sa DPWH, hindi ba dapat sana ay tinawagan nila ang Land Bank at alamin ang detalye? At hindi ba sana, kung hindi tumawag ang AMLA, ay tumawag ang Land Bank sa AMLA? Paano ba naming ano ba ang dapat gawin dito? 457 million cash ang winidraw galing sa pondo ng DPWH. So may mga paraan na pwedeng kumilos at kung nakita ng AMLA, my understanding is that if the suspicious transactions coming from public works accounts revealed that there could be or may be a predicate crime of graft and corruption, and therefore this is money being laundered or money being squandered, bakit hindi nagsampa ng kaso, for example?
Salamat, Mr. President. And lastly, sinabi po nila sa kanilang statement na they faithfully and strictly complied with. So, good gentleman, kung
yes.
strictly talaga, paano sila dapat kumilos kung totoong strictly sila tumupad sa mga batas?
At ang implikasyon nun, kung yun ang ibig sabihin ng strictly at faithfully, di pwedeng ulit-ulitin yung mag-withdraw ng 457 million sa loob ng 2 araw. Is that the Is that what they're trying to say in this case? Hindi naman po siguro. And that's why I find it very disturbing, to say the least, that they would say after, maybe they are afraid of liabilities, maybe they are afraid that they may have had negligent behavior or conduct and therefore would not want to own up. But now is the time to own up. Now is the time to have the truth out. Kung sila ay nagkulang, aminin nilang nagkulang sila para hindi na maulit ito. Pero kung sasabihin nilang, we followed strictly all regulations. Allow me to quote very quickly.
Yes, Mr. President.
These funds are legitimate government allocations, not private or unverified sources. Land Bank or any other financial institution has no legal authority to block or question duly appropriated government disbursements. This is all very legalese. And if we're going to use, legalese language in order to gloss over the fact that no matter how you look at it, 2 days, cash transactions, 457 million pesos. How can that in any way be unsuspicious or regular?
And I take note, Mr. President, galing pa sa isang abogado na pinapaalalahanan tayong lahat, huwag tayong palimita sa legalese lamang. So huling-huli, Mr. President, so may nakikita na po ba ang good gentleman na mga applicable laws na bukod sa, of course, kabuang committee report sa Blue Ribbon, pero particular dito sa statement ng Land Bank, applicable laws na malamang kailangang amyendahan para talagang mabigyang daan ang faithful at strict compliance ng ating mga government banks sa ganitong mga usapin?
Well, immediately I would like to think government banks cannot be treated the same way as private banks, especially when it comes to precisely public interest involved in the amounts, in the accounts of government agencies. So there has to be a different set of rules and regulations covering government banks such as the Land Bank of the Philippines or the DBP. Now, as to the specifics as to what these provisions of law, amending the AMLA perhaps, is concerned, we can look into that. But clearly, we cannot allow government banking institutions to have the same set of rules and regulations as we would have private banking entities and corporations.
Maraming salamat, good gentleman at Mr. President. Totoong dapat ang mga government entities ay higit pa na accountable. No? Of course, there's accountability from private sector, civil society, pero kapantay at higit pa doon mula sa mga government institutions. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat at thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Majority Leader.
Yes, our distinguished colleague, Senator Rafi Tulfo would like to be recognized.
Senator Rafi Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the good senator from Pampanga allow me to
Quezon
ask
City.
one question?
Yes,
Of the Philippines.
willingly to the gentleman from Isabela and
Isabella and Davao.
Davao.
Mr. President, thank you. Just one question, Mr. President. According to report, most land banks parati raw pong kinukulang ng cash dahil malakas ang palabas na cash flow. And sabi ng mga kakilala ko, at marami sa atin nakakaalam nito, to avoid having to request from BSP cash supply, they tap other nearby banks for cash supply assistance. What regulatory measures ang meron ang BSP para hindi na sila malusutan? Aware po kayo dito, Mr. President? Itong nangyari na palaging nagkukulang ng cash.
Narinig ko rin yan. If I'm not mistaken, just recently, the Bangko Sentral issued a memorandum circular na ipinagbabawal na ang cash releases if it's more than 500,000 pesos, dapat check na ata, no? And they did that after the first or the hearing or the second or the third hearing of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Pwede naman pala. Kaya naman palang gawin mag-issue ng ganong klaseng circular para mahigpitan pa itong pag-release ng cash transactions ng government banks.
Hindi kaya, Mr. President, kaya kinukulang ng cash ang mga land bank dahil dito po nag-withdraw yung karamihan ng mga contractor, mga taga-DPWH, bulto-bulto na
Well,
pera.
base
ang
doon sa
withdraw.
salaysay ni Miss Sally Santos, yun ang nangyari. Sinabi niya ay idiniposito sa kanyang account ng DPWH at ang utos ay i-withdraw at dalhin sa district engineer. In fact, if I recall correctly, yung cash na nakita dun sa mga larawan, sa mga picture, yung limpak-limpak na salapi na nakapatong dun sa lamesa, galing yun sa land bank. Kawi-withdraw at dineliver nga dito sa opisina kung saan nilapag ng Public Works District Engineer yung pera. Cash.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. President. That's all. Thank you po.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Rafi.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we refer the speech, I move to refer the speech of the good gentleman to the Committee on Banks and Financial Institutions to include all interpellations as well.
Any objection? Hearing none, the manifestation speech of Senator Pangilinan is referred to the Committee on Banks.
We recognize, Mr. President, Senator Jinggoy Estrada.
Senator Jingo Estrada is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just an inquiry, Mr. President. I was tasked by my fellow minority senators. Since last week, during our last session, if my memory serves me right, last Wednesday, we discussed the twin resolutions. Resolution filed by Senator Alan Peter Cayetano and the other resolution filed by three senators, De La Rosa, Padilla, and Bongo, regarding the sense of the Senate with regard to the house arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte. And we agreed during the last week's hearing that it will be discussed during the All Senators Caucus, which happened yesterday. May I know the status of the twin resolutions, Mr. President?
Mr. President, with the information, for the information of the body, we did have an all-member caucus, but the minority was not there. Only Senator Padilla was
Robin
there.
Padilla.
But it's not their fault, Mr. President. Dumating po si Vice President Sara Duterte, so they were, of course, accommodating and hosting Madam Vice President's office nila. But so the status was we were not able to discuss it lengthily and fully because of, we didn't have the sponsors of these measures in the all-members caucus yesterday. Pero nandito po tayo. For the record, nandito po tayo naghihintay sa lounge. So if the good gentleman would want, maybe after this we can suspend after the three resolutions and discuss it.
We are more than willing to
Lengthy
discuss
again.
it, Mr. President.
Okay. So yun na lang po, Mr. President. We can discuss it later on after the business of the day.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. President.
if the body so desires, we can conduct a caucus after the business at hand.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we have three items of the day. We have two resolutions, simple resolutions, and one ratification that hopefully we can approve on second reading. But for the two resolutions, we have an additional reference of business, so I move for the additional reference.